Picture this. You're not just fixing cars, you're living your passion every day. At Cox, you'll work on a diverse range of automobiles. Surrounded by a team of friendly, like-minded individuals, you'll enjoy great pay and benefits. Ready to make this a reality? At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel techs to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. Learn, grow, and fine-tune your career as a technician at Cox. Find out more at cox.careers/autotech.
Welcome to ATT Live, December 3rd. I'm Braden.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
Coming hanging out for a nice Sunday. We're going to get these back on track going all December. You can come hang out Sundays, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Off the hop, I want to just say if, time is a valuable thing for the Theorists right now, so it's going to be hard for every Sunday for us to get all 4 members. So one of the things we were talking about is having fill-in spots, right? So from now on, if you're on our Patreon at $10 or more, you want to jump on ATT Live, Dan's going to create a list here. You can message Dan. The rules are going to be no slurs. Yeah. No slurs, and you got to bring something to talk about on ATT Live. You can come hang out with us.
We'll be doing this until somebody fucks it up for all the rest of you, and then we're going to never do it ever again.
It can't be any worse than half the shit we've said. Let's be honest.
No. So if you're interested and you're on that Patreon tier, we didn't talk about how we'll line that up, but we'll figure that out this week, and if we'll see if we can get at least someone on. And obviously, it goes priority based on your tier. So if you're a higher tier, you get the rules.
We're open to bribes too.
Computer, webcam, and headphones, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think that works. Webcam, and you got to be on video.
Man,
and
first 100 shows I recorded sitting on the floor with a fucking handheld mic like Bob Barker. So
yeah,
it doesn't take much.
So let's do a roundup here. So we've had 2 back-to-back interviews. The first one, obviously, a crowd favorite because now you're rich. Classic. What have you guys bought with your infinite money?
Mine got declined.
I bought a small island.
The reaction to that one was really funny because I was like, I left that interview being like, I think. Even Andrew, you were like, I don't even know if we should release that.
So angry.
I hated it.
So angry.
So
it's so painful.
Oh, dude, I was miserable. It melted my brain.
Yeah, it doesn't even make any sense how you're like, oh, a year and a half. That guy's fucked, man. That guy is in for some.
I don't think he is fucked though. I think
it takes 3 to 4. It takes 3 to 4 years for the IRS to catch up on stuff.
Not only that though,
I'm not even going to be like. I
think he's smart. I think he's going to have fall guys. I think he's setting up all these poor bastards that are all going to take the fall. Then he's like, well, I set you guys up. I let you know. I told you I was one dumb fuck, and you guys chose to listen to me.
One stupid fuck.
Stupid fuck.
That being said, dude, some of our fans undefeated. Some of the funniest shit.
Yeah, there's some really good.
The Slain King message that he sent a fucking image where it's just it's unlimited money, bro, without recourse, with just fucking 30 credit cards in the image. I was like, that's fucking great. Hate everyone in the chat.
Instructions unclear. Execute an infinite money hack, and now my dog is up for collateral or something. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's pretty interesting to that, what these guys think they can get away with and how that's going to work for them in the long haul.
It would be different if he was just doing it for himself. He's literally got followers.
He's followers.
That's how he sustains the thing.
It's so fucked up though. He's ruining people's lives.
It is seems on the surface like a scam.
Oh my God.
It's all based on just flimsy misinterpretation of very obscure codes and stuff like that. And you're like, well, I interpret it this way, and then any person would be like, why would you interpret it like that? Like the whole naturalization thing is like naturalization by any method. And he's like, it could be anyone could do that. I'm like, no, there are actually different methods, like 4 different methods of naturalization. So it's referring to those 4 different methods, not just, oh, you could do it however you want.
It doesn't make a lick of sense. Andrew, can you do me a favor and center your camera just a little bit? You're like half cut off.
It's because the way I'm sitting.
We're sitting. Yeah, it's the way you're sitting, dude. You're all over the place. You got Jimmy legs.
Sunday,
dude.
I'm fucking chilling.
Yeah. How'd the Lions do today?
It's great. Oh, they fucking won.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, you sound surprised.
Now
it's the first time being 9-3 since like 1962. All right, we're doing good. I'll take it.
The anyone listening to this, we got an awesome we record these live Sundays, so it hasn't come out yet. But by the time anyone listens to the pod version of this, second interview that we did last week, Richard Serrett.
I had to look it up today.
Dude,
because I did the intro.
What an absolute beauty that guy was. Like, just such a joy to talk to after dealing with fucking that nitwit the week before. And you missed a good one.
I wanted
super cool guy.
I wanted a palate cleanser after that last one. I needed like a reset.
No, it's too bad. This guy's super interesting. And he's like a broadcaster. He's been on like.
Well, if I had infinite fucking money, I wouldn't have to work, so I wouldn't have missed a podcast, for fuck's sake.
Well, if you would have utilized it, you could have. He's an interesting guy because he did like he claims to be one of, if not the first person to question the official 9/11 narrative on like actual like broadcast radio, and taking calls, and then like just got the call up to the big leagues one day to like he does the host of Coast to Coast AM like quite often on the weekend. So just dude, an awesome guy. He's just like the absolute professional at what he does. You can say whatever you want to him. He doesn't lean one way or the other ever. He just like listens, but he always like everything he just adds to the conversation. So it was just such a fucking fun interview.
Yeah,
cool.
He's had such like a long career, and he's done this like he's done radio for a while. I think he said at least like his career's like spans like since the early 90s. And I'll say that dude looks great. Like
dude, like, I couldn't figure out. I was like, how long his career's been? I was like, is this guy 80 years old? I have no idea. He's been doing this for so long. He looks phenomenal.
And also so he's been doing it, but he's doing podcasting as well. Like he's got like 900 episodes on his like the Richard Serrett show, which is like, and that's just that one. And then he has other ones like it used to be the Conspiracy Show, but he's got a bunch of people that he comes on, and he's just like, and his things are like all over the place. Like he's been, 1 week he's talking about 9/11 stuff. Next week it's Bigfoot, like Bigfoot is an alien and all that stuff. And the next week is like witchcraft.
Reminds me of another podcast. I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like when we were talking to him, I feel like we barely scratched the surface because there was so much in there that I wanted to talk about. He talked about he was going to do that show with like the rock and roll hauntings or whatever, because he's a big fan.
That sounds
of like
fucking awesome. Music.
So really cool. We didn't even get to do it.
Copyright. We're stealing it. We're doing that. We're jumping on it. It's ours now. We're doing it. Haunted rock and roll.
I know. I mean, he seemed amenable to coming back on the show at some point.
Oh yeah, I think he had a good time.
Cool.
Zell had that guy. Zell had him in stitches. Actually, highlight show for Zell. Zell was just fucking it's on weird. Cracking jokes.
Like once every couple of months, Zell's just on fucking fire.
Yeah, he's just like nothing misses.
Yeah,
everything he's shooting. Other stuff we got to talk about, dude. I never thought that in 2023 we would still be talking about the Malaysian Air Flight 370.
Oh, that's right.
And that's been popping off in the news and on X everywhere. It's been. Did you guys see the satellite video?
That's from like a couple months ago. That one video. Yeah,
but
I've seen that one.
It's now circling around. All the orbs flying around the plane, and literally the first thing I thought, I was like, "Oh, this fucking fake! It's fake, dude. That's a fake video." But the interesting thing is, like, there's so many people coming forward, being like, "This video is not fake," and are putting up money. Like I saw Kim.com was offering like $100,000 if you could point to the original poster. Or if you can prove that it's a hoax in any way. And like, he like just a couple of days ago, he's like, month 2, no one has challenged this or tried to claim the $100,000. Like, he's like, this is United States military tech that took down this goddamn plane. But I was like, for me, I was like, why would you take that? Like, if you were testing out some sort of tech, like, why on a passenger plane? Like, with passengers, couldn't you just couldn't there have been a...
Seems like a lot of variables in there if you're testing something, and you're like, okay. And if it is like some kind of objective to like make it disappear, it's like, it's Malaysia flight. Like, nobody... Well, I mean, there are people on that flight, but it's like, who important?
Wasn't there important? There? I think there were some important people.
Yeah, the Malaysian Prime Minister.
He was on his way to Fashion Week.
Yeah. The only thing you'd be using is like if like Cobra Commander were on that plane, is like, I would imagine use that kind of check.
That's a good question. Maybe it was the Malaysian Homelander that took that thing down.
No, the video is pretty neat. If people don't know what we're talking about, it's like it's thermal, like it's a thermal camera, like filming what looks like a passenger plane flying up through the air. You're not really sure where or anything like that. There's no real terrain indicating where it is, but you're pointing up into the sky. These 3 orbs appear and start flying around it in like a synchronized really circle, fast. And then like it zoops.
Plane's gone.
Yeah, but realistically, we have no idea who could have been on that plane.
I think there is a
but there could have been something for completely different reasons. Could have been somebody important on that plane that they needed to get rid of. I mean, I feel like he could have taken them out another way, but still.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it could have been anybody on that plane.
That's what I mean. Could be some type of fucking spy shit. Who knows?
Yeah. Or it could have been some kind of time travel thing and the future Hitler was on there, or the Antichrist.
Baby
or
Hitler.
Anything. Yeah. It could have been anybody. Could be a guy who invents lizard man DNA.
Or maybe it was just the first plane they came across. Like, we got to test this shit. We got to test this shit. This is the first plane we found. Give her.
Yeah. Could have been Martha Kent. Could have been on that plane.
But Martha Kent didn't give birth to Superman, so why would that matter?
Yeah, but she took care of him.
Well,
that's an interesting like a thought of like these kind of events where it's like just like this plane, it's like a mystery. We're like, holy shit, maybe the Titanic, maybe these are like fucking Nexus events where it's like, if this doesn't happen, it just stops absolute fucking pandemonium in the future.
Like, you have to go back in time and stop Harambe from getting shot. Everything went downhill after Harambe. Yeah. Everybody knows that.
But maybe it's worse if he didn't get shot and they let him have his way with that boy, and that boy then grew up to that from those
have his way with that boy.
Dude, he was.
Harambe's
you see what he was doing with his finger? Oh,
you trying to tell me Harambe's a pedo?
Yeah, so dude, that's why they shot him.
Good.
That's what they shot him. Dude,
I saw Venture Brothers?
He was poking
you ever watch Venture Brothers?
Poking that boy.
King Gorilla. Remember that? The fucking pedo.
Dude, had they let Harambe live any longer, I'm telling you, that was gonna be that video was gonna be way darker, dude. There's a grown ass gorilla was about to manhandle a baby.
Ooh. Well,
right? Like, that's why they shot him, right? Am I wrong? Like, a baby went over the enclosure, right?
Yeah, they were worried about that.
Like, I don't think they'd ever seen that happen before.
No, we saw one encounter where a kid fell in, and it was a female gorilla that went and
she took care of him.
Took care of the kid.
Like, took him over to like where the handlers come into the.
I mean, it's a male, so it doesn't have any maternal instincts, but still.
Yeah, dude. All I know is I've seen what monkeys do to other monkeys.
It's a gorilla.
Like, oh my god. Yeah. Now it's a giant 800-pound silverback gorilla. I mean, he was guilty as charged, dude. I don't know, dude. I saw the look in his eye.
Listen,
you go back and you look. There was lust in those eyes.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now. It took a little bit. It took some time, but remember Tarzan's dad? He took him in. He took care of him. Right? Like, it was touch and go for a bit. A little bit of Phil Collins plays, and next thing you know, they're buddies.
How often, Braden, have you watched footage of aroused gorillas that you can identify what the intention of a gorilla within its eyes?
I don't know, man.
Every time he looks in the mirror.
I'm an expert at two things. I'm an expert at unidentified flying objects and gorilla body language.
And silverback gorilla body language.
And I could tell, dude. I could tell that that's a Nexus event. They killed that gorilla because had they not, that kid was going to grow up to be someone terrible. He's going to be like everyone.
The kid does grow up now.
He's going to grow up.
Yeah, but now he's growing up not being molested by a gorilla.
So he's John
Had
Connor.
He been molested by that gorilla, he was going to grow up and be like everyone who watched. Everyone dies. Right? And the future Hitler is what we stopped there by right? Harambe was the sacrifice.
Rest in peace.
Somebody in the chat said, I'm also an expert in languages. Yes. Cunning linguist. That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Harambe, Uncle Slam, Harambe did have it coming. 100%. That's interesting. It's an interesting concept, though, to think that, like, you know, maybe these things happen and there's a futuristic sci-fi reason that we just can't even fathom right now in our current timeline. But I mean, like, how good, like, to me is like, if you were doing that, like, you wouldn't know the outcomes if it made it worse or better.
Unless you've been in the future or not.
Yeah, I think it's a fucking slippery slope.
Of course, it's like also if it's also different timelines. So it's like if it just produces another timeline, then you could just, I don't know why you would just like, oh, this timeline sucks. You just jump to another one. You don't have to go change stuff. You just jump
let the gorilla live. Interesting. What's been going on with Grusch? Grusch been popping off anymore?
Oh, is this the Grusch hour?
The Grusch report.
Grusch hour?
So I think last week he was on Joe Rogan.
Yes, he was.
That's right.
So he was on there basically kind of going through the stuff that he's gone, you know, is testifying before Congress, I believe. I didn't actually, did somebody watch it? I didn't actually watch it. I just kind of saw some of the highlights and stuff.
I can't. I'm so sick of anything with UFOs in front of Congress. I can't watch it anymore.
No, not that. I had the Joe Rogan interview.
Oh, I didn't watch.
So yeah,
I watched about 30 minutes of him interviewing The Rock, and I was like, I need to take a month off. I need to take a month off of fucking
terrible. What a letdown.
Listen to some more interesting stuff.
So Grusch went on, and I think he made some other claims on the thing that he said he'd actually talked, you know, because if nobody's familiar with David Grusch, at this point, Grusch is the former intelligence officer, U.S. intelligence officer that said that he interviewed a number of people who were involved with recovering types of non-human produced craft and also non-human biological entities from some of these crashes. And he said that he's talked to these people as part of his it's one of his like mandates, like while he was working like it was proto to the Arrow program, the current one. He was kind of working with that stuff. So he conducted a number of interviews, and he's gone on and said a number of things like, I haven't seen this firsthand. I've had people relay this to me. So when he was on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, apparently he alleged that there have been actual interactions with some of these beings, like some of the interviews. He said that he is, I mean, from it's like the people that I've talked to, it seems that the U.S. government has a variety of alien bodies, and that he's like, but the total number of like what's interacting with us on Earth or whatever, he's like, nobody knows that. Like, see,
one of the issues I have with Grusch and these claims is like, there's a guy right now, I'm not going to tell you his name because he might come on the show, we're looking at dates, who says that like he's been abducted. He knows of like 215 different races and like fucking wild stuff. Like, what's the difference from us? Like me, I could now say like, hey, listen, you know, I talked to a guy, a radar operator. He said he's got these things. He was working on a Navy fleet. Told me firsthand, right, that he tracked these things. Right, they were doing maneuvers, and I also know another guy who says there's 215 different alien species.
Have you been on Joe Rogan?
Right?
Yeah.
No.
Have you been on Joe Rogan?
But
okay.
No, but that's my point. Is I'm saying like nothing is like, everything is information. To be honest, does his credentials? What I'm saying is, does his credentials stand more than ours?
Yes, because he's been on Joe Rogan.
Well, yeah, he is an actual. He was actually employed, had an official position with the United States government, with the intelligence AG.
So did you, Dan?
I
have an official position with the Canadian government.
Right.
With the provincial government.
Provincial
government,
dipshit. The provincial government.
Different. Fuck's sake, listen to you.
One down.
One of the things that I found like kind of super interesting is this is I am kind of excited to see where this goes and to see whether Grusch becomes like incorporated and becomes like a mainstay of UFO lore. Cause it's like, if you go back, right. So if you go back like far enough, you're like, okay, you get your George Adamskis and stuff like that. You get your Stanton Friedmans, you get your Bob Lazar, right? You get your Bob Lazar who's in there. You get your, your Whitley Strieber, and then like Greer, David was it Dr. Whatever, Dr. Greer.
Yeah.
All of these guys who have like, they come, your Lou Elizondo's coming in here, and like every time they like new stuff gets added on. I'm wondering if Grusch is like the new Lou Elizondo.
He's like the next guy.
We need a new distraction is what we needed.
Yeah, a new willful idiot or useful idiot.
Yeah. So,
because why he doesn't know anything firsthand. Like, it's all
right. So, and
the only difference between us and him is he doesn't record his interviews on a podcast.
A lot of his stuff was like, he was saying that a number of his things, so they did have a skiff interview with him. So they did. That was one of the big things that they were pushing for in his first. The
skiff. That's where they go into the back doors of the Congress.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a skiff is like, well, a skiff can be anywhere, but it's like, it's a special room. That's like a secure room where like people can talk about top secret information and it's like a clean room kind of. And so one of the things was like, okay, get him in a skiff and So they had a skiff with him, I'm pretty sure like last month or at some point. And they some of the congressmen who came in there. So there is now what they are calling themselves the UAP caucus within the House, the United States House. And it's made up of, let's see, who is it? It's Tim Burchett, Matt Gaetz, Jared Moskowitz, Eric Burlinson, and then Anna Luna.
Isn't Matt Gaetz that weird dude who was like, yes. Yeah, is that the same one I'm thinking of? Yeah, like the weird dude with like the young girls.
Yeah, and it's like, what? Weird. Yeah, there's allegations of him. Is it diddly? Allegations of him being involved with underage women at some point. Yeah, nobody likes him. But yeah,
he's got a weird face too.
Yeah,
like just
super weird face.
One of those real bony faces. You know what I'm saying?
Real, just like, yeah. You look at him, you're like, how does anybody look at this dude and be like, I want this guy to represent me? But yeah. Besides that, putting that out of the way for now, you have them who are all in. Like they are in this UAP caucus, which they basically are like, their whole goal is to bring more transparency to the topic of UAPs. So they're the kind of the ones who were there during the first Grusch, and like had him come in there, and Commander Fravor and the other guy, I can't remember his name, coming in there and talking about these things. They actually are kind of like involving themselves on a like there's an amendment coming out to the National Defense Agency, basically like the funding bill for like the national defense, which the Senate kind of throws down at some point. And then they want to add in this little piece to it. It's like the bill is huge, like this is gigantic. It's basically to fund the United States military, and they it's called the National Defense Authorization Act, and they want a provision put in there for UAP transparency, and so which they call it's called the Schumer Amendment, which because it's headed up by the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York, and then Senator Mike Rounds, a Republican from South Dakota. And they are putting in there, which basically says that it would require the release of government records on UAPs no more than 25 years after their creation, unless they're found to be enough of a risk to national security to require further classification.
So you're never going to find out nothing.
So, but it would also create an official UAP records collection and establish a new review board for that office. So you'd have an actual office dealing with these UAP events or files and reports.
What a fucking cool job that would be. Basically X-Files. You're working the X-Files.
Right. But the thing is, last week, there were reports that some of the House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers and the House Intelligence Committee Chair Mike Turner were looking to actually put the kibosh on that act. So they're saying that some of these guys are stonewalling. So a lot of people are saying that why these people like holding up this amendment, this provision within there when it's like, it doesn't really like,
well,
why?
I wonder if like, cause I mean, the topics of UAPs and UFOs, I think we're always going to tread a very thin line between, what is, actually, hey, thank you, Killer B12 just donated $1.99. Well,
thanks, buddy.
Thank you for that. It says his first ever super on a live stream.
Thanks, buddy.
That's where you donate on YouTube.
Nice.
Thank you, Killer B12. The thing is, for me, is I think the why there's some stonewalling is and this kind of stuff is because I think there's a thin line between extraterrestrial technology that's out there and that's complete like actual UAPs and like unidentified flying objects that's like legit. We're like, we don't know, and stuff that we do know, but we don't want anyone to know that we know because it's either foreign tech that we completely know what it is, or the United States own like advanced tech where they're just like, we can't let that, maybe if you're looking at the Go Fast and the Tic Tac, maybe they're like, the Go Fast, we don't have a fucking clue. The Tic Tac, that's us. We can't let that get any further because that's our tech and we don't want anyone to know. So it's like, maybe there's a bit of stonewalling when they're getting too close to getting information that they don't want out there that has nothing to do with extraterrestrials and more about, military technology. That's always my thought of why these things maybe get held up sometimes. Because it wouldn't be hard. There's so many special interest groups that are involved in politics in the States. Like you get Lockheed Martin like whispering is like, shut this fucking down. Like, no, stop. So that's my thoughts.
So on that topic, that falls right into this report or this article that was put out in the Daily Mail, which is not the most reputable, not the most reputable of news sources.
What are you talking about? It goes Weekly World News and then Daily Mail.
Yeah,
as far as credibility.
But I will say,
is there any news place that's left with any kind of credibility in today's day and age?
I usually pull from AP or
TMZ,
Reuters, like some, maybe? TMZ, yeah, maybe, and that one, The Sun,
yeah.
So I will say that the article appeared in the Daily Mail this week and earlier this week, and then also even though it appeared in the Daily Mail, it is actually a pretty interesting and informative article. Like a bit more substantial than the usual fare that you'll find on the Daily Mail, which is kind of interesting. But the headline kind of reads that CIA's secret office has conducted UFO retrieval missions on at least 9 crash sites around the world, whistleblowers reveal. So the article kind of boils down and saying that they have several anonymous sources that confirm that there are retrieval of crashed UFOs around the world, and which has been happening for decades. And they're saying that the organization or the office that is kind of heading these things up, or at least one of the ones that is integral in arranging the retrieval of these crashed objects, is called the Office of Global Access, which is apparently like a wing of the Central Intelligence Agency, so the CIA, their Science and Technology Directorate, and that this organization, this kind of this office has played like a central role in retrieving these objects of which could be of extraterrestrial origin.
We've always kind of talked about that. Like, if you think, like we talked about the Roswell and like how that was, if that is to be believed, that was the first like retrieval and they absolutely bunged it up. Then we talked about that other one a couple years later, like in New Mexico, where it's like they fucking dropped roads down to get into this place to retrieve this thing. I don't remember the name of that one. Do you know the one I'm talking about though? And there's like some remnants of the, is it the Aztec New Mexico? Yeah, and it seems like such a clean job, and we're like, we theorize that like, hey, they got this down to a science now. When you have like, treaties like, why can't I think of the fucking treaty that's all the Western countries that are all together?
NATO?
NATO. You have like NATO and stuff, and that it wouldn't it make sense that if this is some top secret stuff that you would have like, you're like, this is the expert team when something comes down that's unknown, whether it be extraterrestrial or a foreign state enemy technology, this is the team that does it. They have protocols, boom, picked up, like gone as fast as possible. It would make sense that there'd be kind of some protocol on how to do this stuff, or at least written down. Like, I wouldn't believe if they were like, there's no policy if we found a foreign crash. Like, no, they 100%, they have fucking protocol and process in place to quickly pick this shit up. 100%. Like, even if it's just foreign tech and take the UFO right out of it, there's 100% process. So
one of the dudes we talked to on last time we did that big, was it Theorists in the Deserts, whatever. He talked about them having an international plan like that, where they just like everything written up, and when something like that happens,
Kevin Day,
maybe.
I don't remember who, but
who was the Anunnaki guy? What was his name? He was a beauty. Showed us the Baghdad.
Oh, Jason Martell.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Jason Martell.
Yeah. Well, that would make sense. Like, it would make sense that it would be like at a certain point, it would be like all your allies, you would kind of work together to pick this stuff up.
Yeah, but how many of you sneaky motherfuckers are going to be like, listen, did we catch it? Let's keep it for ourselves. See what we got. Because if we can get the sword from Halo first, we're going to win.
Yeah. He who controls the energy sword controls the world. Yeah, that's good. No, so to the fact that they're saying 9, like, I mean,
at least 9.
At least 9. It goes back to like Bob Lazar saying, they found one, like in an archaeological dig. So it's like, how old are these things? Where are they finding them? It's cool. I mean, these headlines always grab attention. It's clickbait, right? Like, you're like, fuck, I'm in.
Yeah, the articles, like I said, the article is actually pretty interesting. Like, it goes through a lot of the stuff that's been going on recently. It mentions the Grusch stuff in detail. Also, like, it goes into some of the claims that some of these anonymous sources, at least 4, I think, like one source that made the statement about the nine apparent non-human craft, and then there was like 3 that said they had been briefed. Claimed to have been briefed on some of these retrievals at some point. Like one of the interesting quotes is like, the task at hand is simply to get it into custody and protect the secrecy of it. And the actual physical retrieval is by the military, but it's not kept under military control because they have to keep too many records. So they start moving it out fairly quickly into private hands. So that's where you get your like Robert Bigelow's and stuff like that. I assume, like, Lockheed Martin's, Boeing's, like, you want to get it, you have the resources and the quick mobilization of the military. You want to be able to get them out there and be able to retrieve stuff and what they can do quickly. Yeah. But then you want to get it out of the military's hands as quickly as possible because they can't, like, there's too much paperwork, and, there'd be too many people being able to get into access to that. Like, you'd think it would be secure, but it's just they're beholden to a number of like regulations and just logistical stuff that would be like, it'd be a nightmare to try and keep some of this stuff secret. Where if you put it to a corporation, you shunt it off into some corporate black site, like, they don't have to be responsible to anyone. Essentially, they can just be like, whatever, like, they can do whatever they want. No, they don't have to keep any paperwork. They don't have to keep any records. They don't have to pay anybody, like, whatever. They don't have to keep all their records on the books. It's just like, So I was like, oh, that's interesting. That does kind of make sense in a, logical sense, to be like, yeah, you'd want to be able to get it to people who don't have to keep records of like who was there and whatever and all that stuff.
What was retrieved and
just what was used and like all that.
Interesting. Cause but like seeing that, like, they're so compartmentalized of like these agencies and inner agencies of agencies to like kind of block access. It kind of makes me feel like, all these people that are working with, like, to do FOIA requests and kind of try to get disclosure. It's like, well, unless they fucking want to, you're not going to get shit, because they've they're 10 steps ahead of us in covering this information up and keeping it out of the public's hands. That, like, good luck. Like, disclosure is going to be, it's a slow trickle for a reason. It's because they're 30 steps ahead of the people fighting for disclosure.
It's also, it's like some of these organizations like change hands so quickly that you're like, they just get dissolved. Although if it were like an extraterrestrial thing, you'd think you'd want to maintain consistency throughout the thing. Cause if you're studying these things, somebody would be like, okay, we have to keep track of this stuff.
But is that any different than what we've seen, Dan, where it's like, all the different fucking agency names that they've had over the years in the United States government, that it's like, oh yeah, that program was then, and then it dissolved. And you kind of find out, you're like, well, it didn't really dissolve. It just kind of fucking changed names and then continued on under a new name. Yes, the first, iteration of it was technically dissolved, but like it continued on under a different umbrella.
Yeah.
And then we see that. So maybe it's just passing hands like that in this like just constant like change names, new coat of paint, right? New sign on the door, and they can kind of get away with that.
Yeah, if like, for example, like Project Blue Book is kind of like the old, what is now the Arrow, like it got dissolved, Project Grudge, it was Project Grudge, and then it became Project Blue Book, and then it got dissolved. But it's like most of those things get dissolved because they weren't finding anything, and then somebody finds like a reason to get mad at them and be like, you're wasting all this money, like it's some partisan stuff in the United States, and like, look, you guys have had this, you've had this thing for 5 years.
They didn't let us know they found it.
Yeah, we're paying American tax dollars to do what? It's just one of those things. It turns into some kind of budget hack argument that they're like, we're funding all this research for what? Like, you have this department that doesn't even though it's like Project Blue Book was pretty much like Jail and Hynek, like taking taxis to go wherever he would, because they wouldn't even fucking reimburse them for gas or whatever. Like, when you get him a car to drive, it's like, he's got it, or he has to drive everywhere himself because they won't reimburse them for shit. So it's like, some of these things you're like, I don't know. Like, I would say that if you had an actual organization, I think it would be well curated, and you'd want it to have like consistency, and it would be buried deep, like deep. And you'd probably, like I mentioned before, it'd probably be more likely to find that under the purview of like a private corporation that's out there, which I don't even think would be like Boeing. It would be like some nondescript company that's like, we make ball bearings or something, like that's their surface. They're just like, but they're actually like in charge of UFOs and shit. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it would be something like that. This is breaking ATT news.
Oh, shit.
I talked about this guy that we're going to try to get on.
Yeah.
He's coming on.
Let's go.
He just said anytime in January, he's good to go.
Can you say who it is?
Yeah, his name's I don't know. I didn't know who he is. Maybe Dan will. Samuel Chong. He's been on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. He's been on Jeffrey Mishlov's New Thinking Aloud. He let's see what he says here. There's at least 147 different ETs in our Milky Way galaxy. The crashed UFOs are from the grays in which the U.S. government has been trying to reverse engineer their technologies. ET, those spacecrafts that do not crash on Earth, have far more advanced technologies. And in fact, they've been watching us and assisting us since ancient times. Dude, this guy is interesting guy. He's got a book out. I'll leave that out until we get there. But like, I think he says he's been abducted.
Okay.
Yeah. No, being invited to visit an extraterrestrial planet that has advanced civilization, and he's been informed about the history of Earth.
Yes.
And ancient civilizations. Reincarnation and afterlife. Dude, we're gonna have so many fucking questions answered when this guy comes on.
Gonna have to crack a couple for this one.
He knows about the construction and the purposes of the Great Pyramids, the statues on the Easter.
I think it's better at this point. What doesn't he know?
Yeah.
Does he know the secrets to infinite money?
Yeah.
Well, he will after he comes on our show. How do you think we're paying for him to come on?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just sent him a blank check that said without recourse.
Yeah, nice. Good.
So that'll be cool. So we got that that coming up. That meant I love talking to that kind of people.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So fun.
Harmless.
So, Red Bill 21 just said, just using my infinite money to send you guys a donation. When it comes to private development, bigger companies open a smaller subsidiary once the new tech is proved. The bigger company takes credit. And he sent a nice $10 donation. Thank you for that. Only sir. $10 with your infinite money? What the fuck, buddy? Right? How long you been doing this? A week? You don't have any cool shit yet? What the fuck? The fuck, bro? It's not that complicated.
Use the rest of your money to buy Ferraris and give us toss $10 their way.
Thanks, Red Bill 21. No, that's going to be cool. Other thing, if you're not already on our Patreon, patreon.com/Alien Theorist podcast, we've got a new confidential coming out. By the time you're hearing the pod version, it might be out. We talk about the Thetis Lake Monster and probably a new Daddies and Baddies number 5, where we talk about the Toy Box Killer. So by the time you listen to this, those will be available on Patreon only. Help support the show. Other news coming out, guys. We can't take calls tonight because Zell's not here, and I have yet to figure out all the fucking technological advances I need to make in my studio to make it happen. There's so many fucking crossed wires here that I don't know where sound's coming in, so we'll have to wait for that. So maybe by next Sunday I'll have that ready. The other big news, this Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Cosmic Channels is back. If you want to call me, tell me your stories. We'll be opening the Cosmic lines yet again on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap this one up?
Well, it's fun.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
Fun. As for ATT Live, as for recorded shows, we have the upcoming Exeter incident coming up next Monday. So tons of cool stuff coming. And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies. Peace.
You deserve a tech career you love, coworkers you can count on, innovation you're proud to build. If you're ready to change the world through technology, explore a career at Cox. Make a real impact in engineering, development, cybersecurity, and more, all while experiencing work-life balance, flexible work options, and great benefits. Visit cox.career/tech to find a job you love today. That's cox.career/tech.